Hello, everyone. A very warm welcome to all of you in Franchise Summit, where we help our prospective franchisees to know our industry leaders better and to evaluate the business opportunity after hearing from them directly. My name is Ashita Marya, and I'm the CEO of Franchise India. And today, I will help you to assess and unleash the risks and opportunities involved in the Voila franchise opportunity today. Franchise India exhibitions from past about 22 years have been providing a platform to thousands of investors to evaluate the business options for themselves by coming face to face in about 100 plus shows that we used to do nationwide. But since we cannot really come together in those numbers, so going ahead in these times, we're doing these similar activities virtually and helping yourselves to meet the franchisers online. So today we have Mr. Vishwas Shringi, who is the founder, CEO, and the CSC for Voila. He's with us today, and we'll speak about the upcoming trends in the industry as well as what Voila as a franchise opportunity has to offer to all the prospective franchisees. Vishwas is in IIT Madras and Carnegie graduate. Started Voila in about 2012. Voila today has one of the largest fashion jewelry brands. They've got a retail footprint of about 120 stores across India. They started, the company themselves. The first round of investments came from Angel Network in 2012, 2013. Snow Leopard came on board. And in February 2015, People Capital came on board as a majority investor. Voila has successfully introduced, the concept of ISO certified high quality jewelry as well, and it's pretty much at the affordable price points. So we'll today, hear from Vishwas himself, what this opportunity has for us. Welcome, Vishwas.
Thank you, Akshita. Thank you for hosting me here.
Great. So we have even the opportunity with us. So I'll just open up the presentation also for you. You guys can see my screen?
Yes, Akshita, we can see the screen, and let me, walk everyone here. First of all, I would like to welcome everyone who is on the call, and thank you very much for taking out time to understand more about the brand, the opportunity that we have. Let me start with, a quick background on what sort of motivated us to start Voila, and where we are today, and how do we see this opportunity evolving. One thing I would like to say is that we all have seen how the retail in India has started to evolve from a very unorganized segment couple of decades ago to becoming more and more organized. And in that transformation from unorganized to organized sector, what we saw was that lifestyle category also came up as a strong contender. I would like to thank groups like Franchise India, who actually also have helped a lot of brands to sort of, help organize and sort of spread a different way of shopping, which sort of enhance the customer experience in a different way. Talking specifically about the category, I actually happened to see fashion jewelry from distant, while we did not have any direct background in fashion jewelry per se, but I had seen this category in the West, from my experience working there. That was a very, very powerful category and something that people would love to buy to accessorize themselves. However, in India, there was no concept of fashion jewelry. Fashion jewelry in India was largely termed as costume or imitation jewelry. It was basically something that was made from a look-alike of gold jewelry. So in other words, people who could not afford gold or precious jewelry would want to get an option, and the option to them was presented in terms of creating an imitation of that. But this, I would say, was largely for the lower strata and a very unorganized segment. And what I saw, there was a need gap of something that you would call in the organized segment. Now, come to think of it, 3 decades ago, most of the people purchased their apparel from unorganized segment. There were mom and pop stores, they would buy loose apparel, get it stitched, etc., etc. Then you see over time, there were brands that started getting created with this concept of more organized shopping. So W's and Bibas later on, and as a brand, Global Desi. And over time, you would see that apparel has largely evolved. While there was nothing called an evolution in the fashion jewelry, we did see that in the precious jewelry, as Tanishq came around, how they sort of transformed the entire concept of buying precious jewelry, instead of from mom and pop store to a very, very organized segment, organized way of shopping. I think something similar, fashion jewelry as an opportunity present itself. Very distinct category from imitation and junk jewelry. In terms of the market sizing, if you see, it is going to be a $3 billion market, which is a huge opportunity in India and still growing at a 24% year over year growth. Now, looking at our population, India has the lowest, average in terms of the age of population. We are at 28, which is youngest in the world. We had largest pool of youngsters in the world. India as a country is very, very young, and that itself present as an opportunity to invest in a category which is growing tremendously and also getting evolved over time more and more from unorganized to organized segment, and yet remains very affordable from the price point perspective. Um, to the next slide. So where do we see ourselves and where did we find this opportunity? We sort of realized that if you look at all the evolved categories such as apparel, they are inspired from various art form of the country. Be it Banaras as a sari, if you see Kantha sari work, Pochampalli silk, or basically you look Fulkari work, which is very popular from Punjab. And that is where we saw that, there is an opportunity to sort of evolve this category, to recreate this category, make it a high quality product, and at the same time, a very, very contemporary design base, which appeals to the youth of the country. So, four core principles that Voila worked with was modern design ethos. We removed the so-called existence of imitation from this word, made it more, fashion segment. So basically introduce our own design capabilities into this, inspired from the art forms of the country. Quality, which is very, very important because there was a stigma in the society that imitation jewelry causes allergic reaction. The reason was the uses of lead, nickel, and cadmium in the product, which basically made it very, very cheap in quality, although the price points were like 50, 100 rupees. But now we are talking about consumer who are very quality conscious, and it's not just like in metros, even in tier 3, tier 4, people understand quality very well. Hence it was very, very important to ensure that the quality remains the same, which people appreciate. And no wonder why people are flocking more towards the branded segment is their expectation with higher quality. So we use only brass in our jewelry to ensure that the quality remains intact, which is of the same quality that you would see in like a precious segment. And with that thing, what we realize is that third and the other aspect of it is the technology, which makes it very, very scalable. And the last and not the least is governance and compliance. When you look at the organized segment, the most important thing is to ensure that you also check the tick box of how compliant you are as far as the segment is concerned. So all these four principles are deeply embedded in our philosophy, and that's how we have sort of built this dominant brand in the country. And what you would see as a vision and mission, it remains clear: to be India's largest fashion accessories brand with design, quality, affordability at its core values. The mission is to build a scalable business that create opportunities not only for the artisans and karigars of the country who revives the rich art form, but also for the entrepreneurs who are looking to set up and expand their own base. And that's where this opportunity presents itself. Our goal is to establish 500 plus tech-enabled retail footprints across the country. 250 of Soch in the EBO format, and 250 in the shop-in-shop format. Now, what you see that one may ask, is there really an opportunity to have 250 touch points in this category? And my simple answer to that is, just look at the apparel brands, such as W's, Bibas, Global Desis, Soch, etc., you would find 500 such location. 250 is an understatement, where this opportunity exists. So our strategy remains very, very clear. Create the opportunities for people to expand this base via franchisee route. We deliver basically a good quality product, highly unique in terms of design, very, very good omni-channel enabled customer experience model, and very simple plug and play solution, right? Everything is integrated, ease of operations, and in fact, even as far as the training is concerned, all those are taken care when we sort of present this opportunity. Next slide, please. Where we are as a brand today, I mean, you would see that there are more than 1.2 million followers of Voila on social media, vis-a-vis Facebook, Instagram. As you would see, pretty much people have come around appreciating what we have created as a concept. And concept is what has given us uniqueness, because as I said, look at Kantha coming into jewelry, or Banaras coming into jewelry, was something that was not known before. More importantly, it is very, very good quality and still very affordable product, is what gives its highly unique value proposition for the consumers. So strong customer base, as you would see in the product portfolio, endorsed by the celebrities across the country, endorsed by the population across the country, with the number of footprint that we have. And clearly that enables the opportunity to take it beyond where we are today. Next slide, please. Of course, all said and done, what we are talking about here, there are 700 art clusters in the country, more than 5 million artisans and karigars who work across these clusters, and also are part of these clusters. Yet it remains very, very unorganized as a segment. Where we see this opportunity is, when you look at India as a mindset, the youngster as a mindset, you would find out that they are very traditional inside and very experimental outside. No wonder 90% of India's population still dress up in these semi-traditional attire when they go to work. They may wear a pair of jeans, but they would pair up with a kurti or a short kurta, etc. So still, I would say contemporary traditional is the root of India. And with that, what we actually have created is a very make in India story, contemporary traditional art form of India converted into wearable accessories, is the design ethos of our company. And that's what remains in every piece that we create, is unique, but yet very, very traditional in nature, because people have familiarity with these art forms. And what we present is basically revival of this art form in a way which appeals to the youth of the country. While design aspect remains at its core, variety is very important, because as we understand the consumer base, the most important part is that how much you have to offer that they can pick out. Now look at every mood or every event that a person has to attend. Specifically when we look at young woman consumer, they are office goers, they actually have a social event to attend to, they are working moms, they have different roles and different representation that they have for different occasions. That's the reason variety becomes very, very important, and that's what we offer. There are 4 core varieties in women segment that we have. Diamond look, which is basically called cubic zirconia. It's a lab made stone, but luster same as diamond. That is one huge variety. Fashion oxidized is again a second one, very casual wear, but silver plated, color treated, which is giving like an antique silver look. Then the third one is the ethnic or a gold look, which is very apt for any social occasion, any traditional occasion, be it wedding or a festive, etc. Kundan Polki is something that has been around for a longer time. All the popular movies such as Jodha Akbar has sort of made it very, very popular. And I would say that, while we see this opportunity for women's segment, there is also something that you would be surprised to hear, that men's segment is also growing tremendously fast. And we were taken by surprise when we saw that, in how in Bollywood, in the media that is presented in the digital form today, there is a very high consumption when it comes to basically men's accessories also. Men are warming up. I mean, a very simple example of it is that, um, 10-15 years ago, no one would have heard of concept of men cosmetic. Right now, if you see that more and more men are going and are opening up for the ideas of, the looks and, better profile, and with that, they are opening up to experiment more. And when it comes to basically a jewelry, again, it's a mark of affluence, right? I mean, let's go back to the history. Who used to wear a lot of jewelry? Largely kings and rurals, right? So basically what you would see that, men today are also very, open to experiment with the jewelry. And this is not just related to accessories like cufflinks, etc. Bracelets, dog tags, etc. Very, very popular among youngsters. So that's another category that, we pioneer in. The journey so far, quickly, I mean, 2012 is when we launched Voila.com. It was initially done through online channel. Then we, partnered with People Capital in 2015 to start our own manufacturing unit and to basically start our offline journey. Voila happened to be the first ISO certified fashion jewelry brand. In 2018, we got that certification. In 2020, we implemented omni-channel. So all our stores are omni-equipped. That not only gives an opportunity to present the offline inventory to online customers, but also creates an opportunity to sort of diversify your portfolio from the consumer perspective. It's not just limited to the geography where you are, but also basically taking it across the country or the globe, I would say. So with that thing, it's very, very clear where we are. From 100 plus footprint today, we want to be 500 plus footprints in next 5 years. And that's where we see that while we actually create this product, the opportunity is to expand into the retail market is through franchisee route. There are so many people out there who are ready to basically run their own entrepreneurial journey and want to basically look for an opportunity which is unique, something that has very good ROI, and at the same time sort of build a sustainable growth model for them. And that's what we see as an opportunity for franchisee partners here. A quickly glance through, the USP that we have built, over the course of last several years. 1 million plus happy shoppers have shopped at Voila stores, both online and offline. 15,000 exclusive design is what we have built in our portfolio. Currently, around 120 stores across the India, largest among this category that anyone has established so far. Allergy safe is very important. As I said, there was a stigma with respect to imitation costume jewelry, something which we are very, very conscious of. So 100% allergy safe product. 200 plus artisans who work directly with us, at our manufacturing unit. We work with various art clusters across the country. So far, have 150 art forms that we have converted into, the jewelry collection. And first ISO certified jewelry brand is something that we are proud of. A key milestone that we have achieved, I would say, limited to what we have listed here. There are far more than this, but a noteworthy few are, we were the small medium enterprise heroes run by Google as a national finalist and the regional winner in this category. We were, of course, the only one who actually had an opportunity to participate. In 2016, we got Retail Excellence Award, Jewelry E-Retail Award in 2017, Franchiser of the Year Award in 2017 in accessories category. We were also Silicon's India Best E-Commerce Companies in Product and Services in 2017. We also bagged Emerging Award in G Everest category in 2017, a Startup of the Year in 2018, Rajasthan Best Brand in 2018, and we were featured in Forbes India cover story in July 2019. A great accomplishment for the Make in India movement that we are part of, and something that we, consciously are aware when we actually position ourselves in this category. In terms of the footprint, as I mentioned, what we are proud of is that the length and the breadth of the countries are covered, by the brand in various different formats. 120 plus stores, starting from, Jammu up north to basically Madurai in south, Agartala in east to basically Gujarat, Vadodara in Gujarat. Pretty much length and breadth of the countries are covered. We are present across 80 different cities with 120 plus footprints, 22 states what we have covered. There are three different formats currently that we operate in. The largest account come from the EBO, which are around 300 square feet of area and ideal size. Normally, the range is from 200 square feet to 500 square feet. In terms of the kiosk, the ideal is around 100, but the range is around 60 square feet, which is 10 by 6 to basically 120 square feet, 10 by 12. A small pop-up shopping shop across large format store, which are basically very small in 50 square feet size. But ideally, I would say EBOs is where we see higher value proposition, both from the consumer point of view, because you are able to offer more variety, and also from the ROI perspective, because the investment has a higher returns from EBO, and that's why we are keen on expanding largely from through the FOFO format in the EBO format as well.
So Vishwas, currently, this particular footprint is largely the EBOs or kiosks, or it's everything included?
No, so 120 includes everything, Ashita, but what we have largely are the EBOs at this point, around 70 EBOs across the country. And the remaining 50 is, largely kiosk with few SISs. So, and what I mentioned is that from the ROI perspective also, EBOs make more sense because you are able to offer more variety. One, second, you also see higher billing happening through EBO format. Because in the kiosk, you are not able to try every single variety, and specifically if I talk about when someone has to do bridal purchase, as you are aware, wedding is a big market in India. So bridal purchases are largely confined in the stores. People won't be comfortable because they bring their apparel to match things with. And those are the kind of bills that you see goes up to like 40-50 grand a single bill that happens. And that's why EBO is our preferred format as well for franchising.
So how many SKUs you've been able to put into say a 300 square feet or an EBO?
So largely what you see is that there is basically a formula. You are able to put around 800 designs on display and 100 square feet space. So if you have a 300 square feet, you are able to show around 2,400, and that sort of covers every single category vis-a-vis bridal necklace sets, earrings, pendants. So that way, when you are able to offer varieties in each of the taxons or the subcategories, you actually have higher proposition for the consumer as well. You are able to basically bring higher units per bill, and also get higher bill value. And similarly, if you see kiosk, around 800 units is what you would be able to get on a display. And that's the reason, as I said, the ROI you see in EBOs is higher, not only because of the number of units, but also because of the higher bill value per consumer that you get.
Sure. So in the smaller formats where, probably, all the SKUs are not displayed, is there anything that is connected to e-com there? If there's somebody?
Yeah, so essentially all our stores are omni enabled, right? So what you see that people can easily go to the store and shop from there. People can also shop online and pick up from the store. We have facility both ways for the consumers to basically shop online, pick offline, or shop offline and get it delivered to their houses. Both the opportunities are available. However, I would still say that the reason that we bet on the offline, because consumers are in India are still very very touch and feel friendly, right? They would like to get that experience offline. And no wonder if you see, even in the developed countries like US, a large percentage of shopping happens even after so much of evolution offline only. So it is very important, and all the more important in the lifestyle category, because lifestyle category has a touch and feel factor where people want to try and see how a product looks on them, right? So while we have a lot of virtual reality as a concept where people can pick up product online to see how it looks on them via a lot of AI interfaces, but still a consumer would like to at times, try it on their body and the neck to see exactly how the product looks. So that's the reason offline experience become very, very important for consumers. And more importantly, it's about instant gratification, right? I mean, jewelry is a category about instant gratification, right? I saw something, I liked it, I tried it, and I want it now. Versus when you basically shop online, there is a time lag in when you actually order something, then it comes. So that time lag is what you are actually bridging when we are offering something to people offline. And that's why EBO as a format becomes even more friendly, because you have more variety to offer. So there is a higher chances of consumer looking at something they like and they buy immediately.
Sure. And this kind of a concept where impulse plays a very important role, location also plays a very important role. So do you help franchisees in, locating few of the locations, or they have to do it on their own, or you help them do it? How does that get figured out with them?
Yeah, and no, excellent point, Ashita. I think location in retail, I would say, is the single most driver of sale, right? I mean, retail is all about right location, because how you see consumers walking pattern. I would give you an example that even on a high street, which is very, very popular, it becomes very important which side of the street you are, because consumers have a pattern of walking one way and coming back another way when they go to shopping in a particular market. So just to give you an example, being on the left side of a popular high street which has a traffic enabled that way is basically more profitable than being on the right side, because by the time people come, they have actually completed their shopping there when they're coming to the right side. So to answer your question, yes, we do help franchisees to basically find a location. There are two different cases here. One, where an interested partner already has a location with them. In that case, we do a feasibility study of that location. See, the most important thing for a brand is when they are partnering with someone is to ensure that you are building a profitable and a sustainable venture with them. So it is important to do a sustainability and a feasibility analysis upfront. And having opened so many stores across the country, we have a very organized algorithm in evaluation of the store with respect to the location, the potential sales that we would get from that, the kind of footprint that we would get. And for that, we actually arrange for a visit from our team, and they have to fill a form which is then fed in the system to do the evaluation. And basis that evaluation, we realize what exactly is the sales potential, so that we can also set the expectation in terms of what ROI we are looking at. And that definitely goes far when we actually work with our franchisee partner. In another case where we have already identified location and we find a partner who want to basically invest, of course that exercise is done upfront before even we actually sort of suggest someone about that location.
So you prefer taking lease in company's name, or you prefer a franchisee taking that decision?
No, so we prefer whenever it comes to franchisee, we prefer that the lease is done in franchisee's name. See, our goal is very simple, right? I mean, the way we look at it is that we are creating products, we help in marketing, and pretty much we are building or working hand in hand with the franchisee partners in sort of bringing more and more consumers, building awareness, in ensuring that they actually get the right ROI. But as far as the control is concerned, we also want to ensure that the franchisee sees that they have control, and hence it is important for them to be able to get the lease in their name, right? Ideally, if you get the lease in your name, then there is always this thing that who has the control at the property. And we as a brand clearly believe that the franchisee should have that control, because our goal is to ensure that the trust remain, and we actually focus on building a good consumer base, right traffic, and a right marketing for that location, while product remains our core focus to be able to supply them in right time, right location.
Sure.
So moving on to the next slide, please. And this is pretty much the entire launch process, and part of it I already covered in the previous question that you asked. I mean, a franchisee application is the first thing, any interested party would come back with. We will do the location scouting, to ensure that the evaluation is done. Once we are sure that this is going to bring the right ROI, we sign the letter of intent with the franchisee partner. Then we go and our project team actually takes the measurement, does the store layout, etc. All that basis layout process is run in terms of ensuring that how the inventory will be placed. There is basically a process for that as well. Then an inventory selection process is basically inventory team participates in that. Marketing team works on their evaluation of how they are going to build traffic, etc. What sort of launch activities we should be doing. In parallel, the HR team will help in hiring the staff. If the franchisee already has staff, then we also work with the staff in training them to ensure that the consumer experience remains consistent across all the stores. Then the franchisee agreement is signed, final inspection of the store is done, and boom, you are ready to basically make money. Um, you know, I would quickly go in terms of the next few slides, because that are sort of more detail, and I would leave people who are interested to go through these. But these are nitty gritty of what we do in terms of location scouting. I already covered that there are two different processes. One, someone already has it. In other case, we actually go in and suggest the location. Ideally, the store should be on the main road in the vicinities of popular ethnic brands, because the consumer base is already there. Then it's very easy for you to sort of pull them to your stores. So there is basically a sort of circumference you have created, which is within 500 meters, you should have a location. Final approval will be done based on the location, the size, the shape of the stores, and the brand will do the evaluation or the feasibility analysis. But as I said, the ideal store size is like 300 to 500 square feet. In some cases, we have also gone with 200 square feet if the facade size is right. And we believe that the location is far more important. So we have gone and approved those kind of locations as well. I mean, terms and condition, of course, upon approval, as I said, we would like to immediately go ahead with the LOI as the first process. Then in terms of the the furnitures and fixtures, we get the layout done. We have our own preferred vendors, but we are also happy to work with the franchisees preferred vendor as long as the brand guidelines are met. So within 45 days of basically LOI, we ensure that the store is up and running. So in terms of the furniture fixtures, the inventory selection, the staff hiring, the training, all is done within 45 days. And as I said, within 45 days, you're ready to start the sales and launch the stores. That's pretty much what the TNCs are about. Interior process, as I said, there is the store layout and the BOQ as per the store size and dimension that is done. We do have preferred vendors, as I mentioned. The estimated cost of furniture and fixtures is around 200 to 2,000 to 4,000 square feet, depending on the condition. Now, we have seen cases where franchisee partners have like ready to move in stores also. They already have done the fixtures which are very close to brand guidelines. Then we don't want to basically unnecessary spend a lot of money. So we work with franchisee partners to ensure that if an existing store has a certain amount of fixtures that is ready, how we can make it apt for us with a minimum investment from their side, and then only invest in the brand facade and the store look from the outside to ensure that with the minimum investment. So I would say there are instances in which 1,000 per square feet is also an answer, but this is just a guideline basis what we have seen in general. 2,000 to 4,000 is what we see as a cost per square feet. Inventory selection process, this is basically the key, because we over time, basis the stores and the region that we have operated in, we have come up with formulas. But at a very high level, the estimated cost of inventory is around 4 lakhs per 100 square feet. So when you actually look for a 100 square feet kiosk, you are looking at a 4 lakh sort of investment. But if you are looking at a 300 square feet EBO, then you're looking at around 12 lakhs of inventory investment. But pretty much, the way it goes is basis the location, the size, the region. We actually, propose what kind of inventory, what kind of selection would be apt for that particular store. and then franchisee has a say definitely in final selection from what we propose. And basis that we can go over the entire inventory selection process, and it's fairly quick because we already have guidelines in terms of what is the ideal mix for the store, which category does better, etc., etc. And that way, we can easily roll out the inventory within the 45 days time frame that we have stipulated.
Sure.
Brand and marketing support, of course, as I said, this partnership entails that we stand by the franchisee partner to ensure that the awareness is built, right amount of traffic is there at the store. So starting from the look, which is visual merchandising, display, and the store decoration to ensure that the right PR is done for the store, and making sure that the entire marketing platform also is built using social media, local activities, LTL activities, and enforcing on the Made in India story. All those are done as a part of brand and marketing support to the store. And this is not just limited to the launch, but even after the launch, we work closely, because as I said, the initial evaluation that we have done of the store, we ensure that we work closely to make sure that that kind of ROI is delivered. And hence, the marketing program is also sort of supported from that timeline. And we work for all the festive, every season, etc. Whatever is planning is done pan India basis, and accordingly all these collaterals and the activities are released.
So do you encourage franchisees to do local marketing themselves?
We basically work closely with them. See, many a times what happens is that some of the franchisee already have experience with the sort of franchisee format. They are already running other category franchisee or other brand franchisee. In that case, they already have built a sort of loyal customer database. So we do a lot of local activities with them. We definitely partner from our perspective, but in some cases, if the franchisee come and say that I would like to do these couple other activities vis-a-vis partnership with local clubs, the women clubs, etc., we definitely encourage those and extend our support as needed. But yes, a franchisee is allowed to do an independent activity as far as they are in the brand guidelines, but we are also ready to extend our help and support as needed.
Sure.
So in terms of the staff and product training, I mean, as I said, this is a process that is not just one time, but this is a continuous process for us, from the initial hiring to the regular or continuous training. And the reason I say that is because, Voila as a brand, we believe in, offering unique collection every month. We are doing 5 to 10 collections launch every month, and hence it is very, very important for the staff to keep abreast with exactly what is happening, because that's what built a very good engagement tool for them, which allows them to basically build trust with the consumer. Imagine a case when a customer comes in and staff knows everything about the product, the history of the art, or the cluster that was basically there, for them to be able to have a very engaging conversation, build trust with the consumer, and hence the conversions are very, very high. So that's the reason it's a continuous process, and we continue to work with the staff. Quarterly training is mandate, and those are the kind of support that as a brand we extend to our franchisee partners. Of course, these are the nitty gritty of agreement and final inspection, but I think in a nutshell, the most important thing is that, working closely to ensure that we are ready to do the right thing for the consumer, and in turn to, for our franchisee partners. And that's the reason these inspections allow us to ensure that everything is perfect before we actually go ahead and launch the store. These are just a glimpse of store launch, so maybe we can quickly scroll through, but you would see that, how these activities are created to create the budge for the store right from the very beginning. And that sort of leaves the right opportunity for the franchisee partner, all the interested people on the call. So with that, I would like to conclude this and thank everyone, and would like to open up for any questions that people may have.
Yeah, so there are a couple of things that they want to know. One is that since it's a retail product, so obviously you would not work on royalty. So what's the product margin that you offer to a franchisee?
So we work with basically, 40% commission on the selling price. And I would like to reinforce on that selling price thing. See, normally brands go about discount sharing when it comes to basically running any sort of, USS event, etc. But in our case, we are very clear. What we are clear about is that we believe in offering the right price to the consumer at the right time, right? There are basically sales which are predefined in retail thing, but as you have seen in last couple of years, there have been a lot of movement around how the sales event have changed, the timing have changed, and the COVID has created a totally different event for us. In fact, this year end of season sale would not have been an end of season sale, as you could see. So what we are clear about is that we don't want to basically just transfer the liability to the franchisee, but instead work on a very transparent model with them so that they are also clear from day one that what's in it for them. So irrespective of what discount the brand has to offer at what point, they will always get 40% commission on the selling price. With that, it's very, very easy for them to calculate the ROI, to help understand the margin better, and basically make sure that they are running the profitable venture.
Sure. So are there any policies on return of the products if they're not able to sell those products, even if the sale happens? Is there
Yeah.
anything on that?
No, we definitely work on the correction model twice a year. So basically, it is a post the sale event, which was largely defined basis end of sale event, and we look at ensuring that franchise is able to turn the inventory at the right model. But there is a certain percentage that we are flexible with to basically do the stock correction, and that stock correction allows them to then basically move out the inventory that did not sell in time, and hence bring freshness back, because at the end of the day it's all about naya kya hai, what's new in this category.
Right. I mean, it's a fast moving product. I mean, if not consumer good, but it is as good as that. So it needs a lot of work around it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And another is that, do you have any kind of a geographical exclusivity or some parameter that, this is the radius or a diameter after which I would give away another outlet, as in an
So
EBO?
see, largely, I would say, as a matter of principle, there is certain kilometer, radius that we exclude, and I would say that depends on city to city and location to location, right? I mean, if you look at NCR or Delhi for that matter, right? It's very densely populated, and you can actually have within 3 kilometer radius also 2 stores. That's a possibility there, right? I mean, we were running stores like, for instance, South X in Delhi and Malviya Nagar in Delhi both have potential to have one store each, right? So definitely we do feasibility study in terms of what is the radius that we need to cover, but definitely we have exclusivity criteria, because we don't want to jeopardize sale of one store just because there are two people interested in running two different stores. But that said, that sort of approval, or I would say decision, also happens in association with the franchisee, because most important point is that when we do this analysis, we share exactly what we believe in. So another thing that I would say is, like, Karol Bagh in Delhi for that matter can have 2 stores. I mean, that's also reality, right? So then there, the 3 kilometer radius will not play the role.
Sure. And how does in terms of area works out? One is that people so exclusivity, you've said that we'll take a customized decision onto it. But if in case somebody is interested in taking up another outlet, do you encourage a multi-unit franchisee or a single unit franchisee, or you would say that take up the first unit first and then expand?
No, so again, I think we are flexible. If someone wants to take couple of units at a go, I think as a brand, the most important thing that we would like to understand is that our goal is not only to expand, but to expand sustainably and profitably. So what we also assess in our exercise is the franchisee's capability of running multiple stores. We are not looking pure play investors, for, if I could say that, because in pure play investment model, the onus is on someone else as well, right? While we want to make sure that the consumer experience is protected, there is some level of attention that the franchisee is giving to the store, while we partner and work closely with them to ensure that the training aspect of it, the brand marketing aspect of it, or all support that is needed is in place. But at the end of the day, the store is belongs to franchisee, and hence it's very important that there is some attention that is coming from the franchisee. And I would say in that model also, there are great examples where franchisees have created a right structure for them to take multiple units. And even in today's scenario, we are fortunate to have such a structure in place where one franchisee have multiple units and they are successfully running it and profitably running it, and we are happy with that. So happy to consider that. And of course, as I said, we do our exercise to ensure that that's a right partnership also.
Right, right. So, that's all on, the franchisees front. So as a company, are you looking for to kind of, I understand that you're looking at about 500 plus touch points, across the country. Are there any plans to go international, or are there any plans to go, offshore, like neighboring countries?
So Ashita, answer is this: our jewelry requirement come from across the globe. We ship to multiple countries via online ordering today. Europe, US, Australia, Singapore, all the markets are served directly through our website today, which makes us believe that there is an opportunity for this product outside India, and hence also for the franchisee opportunity or the retail opportunity outside India. Right, so we are open to that. There are conversations regarding that as well, but happy to take even those opportunities. Dubai is a great market, for instance. So definitely there are markets outside India where Voila has a significant opportunity as a brand, and franchise has a significant opportunity to get the right ROI. So open to that discussion as well.
Yeah, makes sense. So yeah, because such formats, and particularly this Make in India and the designs that you're offering would have a lot of demand, not just in India but outside countries as well. But happy to know that you're fulfilling the orders across the oceans as well. So that's very interesting. So thank you so much, Vishwas, for your time. We are actually running out of it, but I loved my conversation and I feel it's still not complete. So I'm gonna probably keep a tap on it, and would love to do another round of conversation very soon.
Absolutely, I would welcome that, and I would say that never tired of talking more about brand and explaining exactly what we have to offer.
Definitely, definitely, and I think it's a investors' delight as well. When we come across brands who are professionally run and are interested in maintaining the sanctity and becoming sustainable for the franchisees as well. I think that's the right start point even for franchise industry. So it was a very good conversation, and to all the listeners, in fact, if you have any query onto franchising or any more questions, you can write to Vishwas, you can write to us, or you can go through our expositions. You can attend virtual events or physical events, which we'll be doing soon now, March onwards, and we'll be happy to answer all your queries. And thank you for being a part of this webinar. And Vishwas, thank you so much for your time. And we'll definitely do one more session soon.
Sure. Thank you. And it was a pleasure to be on the show. Thank you for organizing this, and thank you everyone for participating.
Thank you. Thank you, Vishwas.
Thank you.
Bye.